Hello and welcome. My name is Jesse J, and I help music enthusiasts understand the Indian music industry from the eyes of the insiders. And today I have two very special guests on my show, Rafael Pereira and Ankit Khanna, who will talk about investment for unsigned artists. Welcome to the show, boys.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jesse. Thanks for
Finally
having me.
meeting Raf and you.
It's a pleasure, Ankit, and thank you so much, both of
Pleasure.
you, for taking out time.
No worries. All good.
Let me start by introducing Ankit Khanna, a boy who started with the dream of becoming an artist, played many roles apart from being the primary. Started off as a DJ come music producer, idolizing many of his idols, and sooner or later jumped on to being one of the youngest promoters in the urban music scene across the north of India, focusing on importing hit talents from UK's Desi music scene. Few years down, he's a complete talent manager representing the hit squad from UK RDB. Without any professional accolade, Ankit Khanna, founder of D&H Artists, learned everything about the music industry on the job. From touring with artists to managing their professional chords, he slowly turned into someone who we can say, been there, done that. Paving his own way in the industry, he's emerged as one of the youngest talent scouts in the country. From helping revive artists like Manj Music, we all know the ex-RDB lead vocalist, to help build independent artists, none other than the sensational Raftaar. He's carved his own way, leaving some footprints for many to follow in the current music scene. It's notably said that Ankit's someone who's shown the correct path for many artists who've been often halt when it comes to innovating careers after some of their peaks drained out. This is very interesting, and we are definitely going to touch on that. Recently debuting another imprint as a label come production house, AK Projects. He continuously dedicates in hunting for new talents where he can support and help numerous artists across all musical genres. Ankit has majorly contributed in getting the underground music scene in the light it deserves in India. His quest to innovate doesn't stop here, guys. He has always found new ways to push boundaries with the India's most influential hip hop label in partnership with his best friend Dilin Nair Raftaar, which is known as Kalamkar. Kalamkar has driven Indian hip hop music into new direction, giving hopes and aspiration to many young dreamers who find music as their first love. With the increasing competition in the music industry, his quintessential thirst always remains to stand out with innovation. Welcome to the show, Ankit. Your opening
Thank
remarks.
you so much. That was detailed, man. Hey guys. First of all, Jesse, that was a detailed one. I think you've almost made me feel as if I should do a documentary soon on myself.
This is going to be an important session, and it has to be documented for sure.
So I think my remarks on it is that, guys, I come from a middle class family, and yes, I come from a business family as well. So I have that business acumen where I think from my dad, where I've built all these things in these years by God's grace. And I've been lucky that I've always had a great team behind me. I've always had great partners, great artists, and the key to my success, or I think the way we've come up in the last 10, 12 years, 14 years, is I've had long relationships with my artists, and those long have been very personal as well. It's never been a situation where it's only a management thing and nothing related to like not related to any sort of, let's say, only related to work. It's always been being involved much more personal. Like my signed artists have, like the only one artist I can say which me and him are not working currently is Manch Paji and me, and that too because not because there was some riff or anything, but it was just because the he wanted to try a few new things, and I was a bit possessive about few things. So I was like, I don't want to try something new, and I rather stick to what is the core of your music and on your style of music, and I wanted to stick to it. So that's the only thing where I parted ways with him in 2018, and that was also a 8-year relationship. So my thing is like, I started working with Imran in 2011, and I'm proud to say 10 years down the line, you'll have a news where you might see that I'm gonna be one of his key partners in setting up his record label now in the end of this year, where we're gonna support not only the Indian talent, but I want to bring in uh, talents from like, as long as they're Asian, they speak Hindi, they speak Punjabi, that's fine. You can sing in that. We're gonna sign them, and that's his vision. He wants to bring in that side of music to this world, and that's the whole plan. And as long as Raftaar is concerned, I think me and Raf has had a wicked relationship in the last 10 years, you can say. And we've come from, I have seen his growth and he's seen my growth. And I think I'm going to explain more on the business side as the investment point of view and how do we structure the deals and everything on the later part of this whole session, so that we'll have the whole communication wherever it goes.
Ankit, I would like to thank you from all the artist community for whatever you've done so far for them. So
no, thank you so
please
much.
accept my regards and wishes.
I thank to all artists as well, man. They've been great, and my artists have especially been very special in my life, man. Like I'm that sort of a guy who learned from scratch. Like I've been a boy who's picked up bags and worked with an artist, worked like a spot boy. I've been a guy who sit like a executive in a brand deal. I've been a guy who sat and made concepts of music videos, but it's all because of, in the end, we are an artist manager, and the artist is the main prime thing where the industry revolves around them. So we have to thank them for sure, Jesse. And I think it's all about the great team, bro.
Thank you so much, Ankit. I'm going to jump on to my next guest, which is Rafael Pereira. He's an intellectual property strategist working at an intersection of law and business, relating to technology, entertainment, arts, and culture. He's the managing partner of Tinets, a new age intellectual property law firm where he works with creators across disciplines and entrepreneurs across sectors. A Berkeley Law graduate, Rafael has built a career as an entrepreneur with multiple ventures in the creative industry in the Southeast Asia. Welcome to my show, Rafael. Your opening remarks.
Thank you for having me once again, Jesse. It's a pleasure, and it's great to be on a discussion with Ankit. I think for me, I mean, my journey's been pretty much like Ankit, you know, I started about 13 years ago as a promoter working on events day to day. And mind you, I'm not that old. So I started at the age of 14. You know, working on community music festivals, Accelerate Banda, that's what I started off. And everything from production, finally found my way somewhere in artist management. At least on the on-ground artist management side of things, you know, artist management as we know it means something very different for the people on ground and for the executives. So I was on the on-ground side of the artist management, or what we would otherwise call artist handling. And then I slowly made my way from the actual execution or operationalization of contracts to the contracts themselves. And I really found at one point, I was working on all these events, and I was doing it for two reasons. One is I wanted to have a supplementary source of income so that I could put myself through law school. But more than that, I really wanted to be on stage. I really wanted to act on stage. I didn't care too much for film, but I wanted to act on stage. No one would cast me in their place. So I said, to hell with it. I'm going to create my own corpus, write and produce my own plays, and then star in them, you know. I think that's one of the best business models you can have, at least in the theater scene. But at some point, I realized that in the creative industries, there are two types of people who are creative and people who understand creativity. And in South Asia, or India in specific, there is a complete lack and a dire need for the latter. That is, people who understand creativity, people who know how to work with creative people. So I said, I didn't know if I was a really good actor. I mean, no one would cast me. So I said, I know I'm a much better producer. I know I'm a much better lawyer. Let me enable other people to perform their best and do the best deals. Enable that creativity, protect that creativity. And that's what I decided to do. I graduated law school, and then I realized there's also, and maybe Ankit, you'll agree with me, a lot of our contracts today are dictated by the very westernized agreements, you know, which is for me, it was completely a different style and different format of what I was created in law school in Bombay for. I was expected, you know, these anglicized kind of agreements, these whole UK based, whereas, thereafter, therefore, and then somewhere these modular agreements came in. I really wanted to know what the law of California was. And that's what took me to Berkeley. I said, I really need to figure this out, because for about 90% of our agreements, at least in the live space for international artists who are touring India, the law of this agreement. And I said, hey, everyone knowing what it is.
I think for some reason, Raf has a connection issue.
Raf, your connection is a little weak. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Yeah.
Breaking up.
I'm just going to try switching networks once again.
Sure.
Yeah,
next question and come back.
Sure. So I'm going to start. Actually, I wanted to ask the first question to you, Rafael, because amongst, if I can take the liberty, Ankit, Rafael is the more sane and educated amongst both of us. So I wanted to
100%.
give him that opportunity. But since he's right now not there and he will join again, I'm going to give that question to you. The topic of today's show is investment for unsigned artists. So is it possible in India?
Yes, it is.
It is. So how?
Depends on the genre of the music. And depends on what is the age of the artist.
Okay.
How old is he or she, and what is their main core, what is their objective, how do they look up to in the next 5 years, 10 years. They need to have a business plan in place, or maybe let's say some sort of a plan or a path in their head. Okay, that I want to 10 years down the line, I want to be at this stature or something, like I want to be like this one and I want to be like this one. Not as an artist, but just comparing and making their own path easy and understanding that vision of, okay, what kind of genre do you want to work in, and what kind of basis, like what is your main strategy behind it.
Okay.
And
Ankit,
then
Ankit, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to come back to you since Rafael is back. Rafael, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
No problem. When you were not there, I was telling Ankit that with his permission, I'm going to say that you are the most educated between both of us, me and Ankit. Yes. So I'm going to shift the focus to you most of the times in this conversation. My first question was actually to start from you. The topic for today is investment for unsigned artists. Is it possible in India?
So I think it is. Going forward, it is. But investment in the traditional sense. I think there are multiple models, just like if you had considered venture capital. Your first few rounds would be through angel investors.
Rafael, what is venture capital?
So essentially, for venture capital is capital or finance that is available to ventures that is given in stages. So everything from your early stage startups right up to your Series A, Series B.
So you mean so let's just give you a hypothetical example. I'm Ambani, and I am giving money to Ankit to invest on artists. So Ankit becomes the VC.
So I think in the music space, we can't go by that model, Jesse. Let me say that firstly.
Okay.
But to your point, yes, I believe now is the age that the artist has to become the entrepreneur once again. When the nascent stage of the recording industry, it was the artist who was the entrepreneur. Then came in the record labels, and with the ability for a performance to be recorded on a cylindrical disc or a vinyl or and everything else that came after that, it was the entire era of the industry that it became an industry. Before that, it was the artist, and the artist is an entrepreneur. They are their own manager. They really determined how and when their business grew.
Yes.
Today,
go ahead, Ankit.
Yeah,
I think they never had managers. They had secretaries.
Yeah, true.
They had those courier boys, bro.
Yes, they had courier boys who would pick up their bags, make sure the right mics are there, make sure there's enough people in the audience,
and just
get them
booking
their
flights
coffee.
and taking inquiry.
That's a strong statement by Ankit. That's a strong statement by Ankit. Rafael, let's go ahead.
That's true. I think that's true. They had people who would take care of their bookings, their TLB, essentially.
Yeah.
But Ankit, my argument is today is that a lot of people who call themselves managers are only taking care of the bookings and TLB today in India. And I think you will agree.
But that's something like since 4 years ago also, when All About Music started, we did mention and we did clear out to people that there is a difference between a manager and a booking agent. There is a difference. And I've done multiple panels on this and we've done endless discussions, but unfortunately, it's a non-ending thing. You can't explain it to everyone.
Guys, Ankit, Rafael, we are not talking about artist managers and booking agency. This topic is about funding. I want artists to get funding, and please tell us how they can get funding.
So essentially, let's begin with what are you trying to get funding into, right? With a venture, you're essentially.
So Rafael, I'll give you an example. An artist has created.
No, I've got your.
Okay.
I've got your example. I'm trying to get there. Okay. Essentially, with a venture, it's much easier because there are some assets that you're either investing into tech, you're investing on the basis of entrepreneurs. In a business where music is the core asset, you're investing into an artist, you're investing into the marketability of that artist, and you're investing in the marketability of that asset. To a certain extent, you're investing in that artist's fans also. So just like that's what Ankit mentioned earlier, when you look at an artist, I'm looking at what the artist's aspirations are, because you're not going to see those returns from day one. There's a lot more that you're going to be investing, and your returns, the cycle is much longer here, right? So number one, I would say you need to understand what is that asset and what it contains, right? So there are multiple parts that can be invested into: the underlying work, which is the lyrics and composition, and then the sound recording itself, which is the master. Now, I think for a lot of artists who are singer songwriters in the non-film or indie space, as you would call it, they're writing their own songs, they're writing the composition of the music as well, and then they're performing the songs themselves. So they're doing everything themselves. They'll just go probably to a studio to get it recorded, mixed and mastered. But everything else is done by themselves. So they don't essentially look at a song in these parts. They don't look at underlying works, performance, and sound recording, right?
Right.
So in terms of investment, they're saying, okay, what are people investing into? And when you look at labels, or when you look at the investors in this ecosystem, they're investing into the sound recordings, at least in India, right? Since 2012, we've had scope for a publishing industry, but there hasn't been big movement. There hasn't been enough of investment in the publishing industry in India, right? It's been 8 years now. There's no one who's come in majorly and said, let me put money into publishing. Let me put money into singer-songwriters, into songs before they are recorded. Because you have to understand, and I think most people forget, Jesse, is that the lifetime or the copyright for a song, the lyrics and composition, is more than double the term of the sound recording itself. The sound recording is protected for 60 years. The underlying work, the lyrics and composition, is protected for life of the author plus 60. So, you know, that's that much longer period for monetization. And then you can traditionally look at some of the most popular songs today. They're remixes. And that's, you know, the publishing revenue that can be earned, and that is exponential as compared to the master, right?
Right. So
can I ask, Raf, can I ask you a question on this publishing?
Sure.
I want to know, as a new, if I am, let's say, if I'm a new artist and I have an opportunity to do a track, let's say with my track, I made a track. I was with an ex-composer in Bombay. He liked the song. He's doing a scoring of film. He's designing the whole soundtrack. He likes my song. He says, okay, I'll pitch this song. I'll sell this one to this film. And this will be shot on, let's say, a Tiger Shroff or a Disha or someone. And the other thing I have is, either now in this situation, whether I should fight for publishing or for whether to grab that opportunity.
Good question, Ankit. Great, I think.
I think you should fight for publishing, Ankit.
Honestly, I'm not going to get the opportunity to give the track.
I know you're not.
I'm talking about as an unsigned artist. As an unsigned, not the one. As an
unsigned artist, I'm saying even as a signed artist, Ankit, my answer does not change on this. I feel if everyone follows this answer or follows this advice, that part of the industry will be restructured and will be forced to be restructured. I think the moment we put ourselves in...
The problem is if today one artist, if let's say, if 4 composers say, no, we need our publishing, we need lyricists say we need our publishing, otherwise we won't move ahead, they will bring the new kids in. So, and the only difference right now is that there is not a parallel industry even today, and even I think it's going to take a lot of time that there's a parallel industry which comes up. People are again relying on saying that the independent music is buzzing up, there are a lot of investments coming in, there are a lot of revenues starting to build, but the only thing is deals are being struck once, twice. That's it. There's no repeat value on the deals. There are no licensing deals not being renewed. I know a lot of labels who promised, let's say, an aggregator company or someone, okay, we'll deliver this. We need so much money in advance, but then they've started putting content out. The aggregator is not even being able to recover 10% of it. So it's a catch-22 situation as well. That there is like to my artists, I explain them that you have to understand 2 aspects of your life. What do you want to do? There should be some tracks where you retain the publishing, and there should be some tracks where you forgo everything. And that's how you, as a new artist, that's the way forward. Otherwise, if you want to have those rights and own them for your life, then be ready for that 20-year struggle or 15-year struggle, and that's fine. But to shorten the process, that's the best shortcut.
Yeah, I completely hear you, Ankit. And I've worked with a lot of artists that have also created alter egos for work where they've foregone the rights and given the rights away, and for works that they are doing under their name and putting out under their name. You know, they need the money. It's good money, and on that basis, they're able to
and if there are
fund their alter ego.
To me, if there are artists, then I would say, let's say an ex-artist goes to an ex-label, sells their publishing, gives an album for, let's say, 1 crore, 2 crores, 3 crores. And luckily, just give at that point of time, 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when you're established, go back to the label, pay them 3.5 crores back, and just retain everything, buy everything back to yourself. If you really want to control everything you've done in your career, then that's the way forward. But don't kill those opportunities to become big. that is my way of thinking.
Guys, I'm going to take you back to the topic. Just give me a second. Ankit, I am sure that you will be one of the members who will create this parallel industry. I'm saying it today. 5-10 years down the line, we are going to talk again, and you will be one of the forerunners of creating the parallel industry. I know that. You've already touched the point. But wait, I'm going to go a little back. And this question is to you, Ankit. Since you've been there in the industry for all this while, is there any artist in the industry? Has there been any artist in the industry who's got a funding from an HNI? So for those people who don't know what is HNI, high network income group people, has there any artist, Ankit, who's done this? No artist at all? You were telling me about Honey Singh once. You were telling me a story.
It was a situation where I told you that HNIs, okay, if you're thinking of individuals, yes, okay. There have been producers who've come on board and helped the couple of artists where I remember when Mafia Mundi was being set up with Honey, Anup was a key player who said, okay, I'll invest all the money. And luckily that Anup never had to invest, because as per my knowledge, if he's invested, I can't, don't quote me on this, but I think he did. But at the same point of time, he had good relationships in the Punjabi music industry. And he made sure when the content was churning out, he was selling that content to the right labels at that time. At the right cost to recover it. So let's say if today I signed Rashmi. Okay. And I signed her that I look forward to investing in you and everything. But in today's scenario, I have good players in the market who would always vouch for me or my name or my artist. So like, I have a good relationship with, let's say, Z Music. I have a good relationship with T-Series, with the Sony Music as well. So now it's up to me. I promised her that I'm going to invest into you, but it's also my job to make sure that I'm going to take that piece of content, give it to a label, and see if there's any money which can be taken for the artist. And I can recover the cost of the content. If not, then I should be capable enough to put that content out on my cost.
Understood.
As in HNI.
Understood.
It's not only about investing the money. अगर investing से होता तो फिर तो बहुत bank loan लेके आप कर लो ना artist को.
So my question is, next question is, what is the percentage? If you invest in Jesse today, I'm not taking any artist names, Ankit. So if you invest in me today, I'm a singer. What do you expect from me?
If I invest into an artist and if I am signing an artist, my deal is straight up as a producer. I'll take 50% and I'll give you 50%.
Of what? I mean, can you tell me what is 50-50?
Or whatever's 50% of all the incomes, all sort of revenues for your life. I just don't take money in your publishing, which is your IPRS, your royalties and stuff. That is not of my money. That's not my money. But any sort of incomes you make by selling a sound recording to a Bollywood film, by doing a performance, after the net cost being paid to the band, to everyone, I take care of 50%. And my agenda to take 50%, my understanding is, because I want to act as a record label in it. I want to act as a management company, and I need to act as a booking agency. And internationally, when an artist works with something, in the end, a Justin Bieber who did a show for $2.3 million in his around 46, whatever it is, in the end, he can $1 million. In the end, he 800 because he's paying his management, he's paying his booking agency, he's paying his label, the record label.
So you mean to say, Ankit, that
so I'll explain you. So
sure.
I'm going to go much more in detail on
this.
Please. So my way of working on this is, let's say if today an ex artist is signed with me on 50%, and today I get Sony Music to show interest in that artist, and Sony says, okay, we'll do X amount of investment with these in the next span of 3 years. Let's say we'll do 12 singles, we'll invest this much money, but we need 20%. So that 20% is not coming out of the artist's pocket. That comes out of my 50%. So I am left with 30, the label is with 20. And the artist with 50.
Okay.
So the thing is, I need to set up a business for an artist. It's not only about not like if I, let's say, I'm not going to shy enough. Like, I'm going to give you an example with keeping Raftaar in mind, right?
Okay, please.
So if Raftaar gets any royalties from PRS UK, from SOCAN, or from IPRS in India, Ankit Khanna doesn't make anything. Okay? But when he does a TV show, and let's say we had Z Music, who was our label for the last 3 years, but we left, and we've not renewed our contract. So whatever the discussion, so in that frame of mind, whatever our percentages was with Z, as a Raftaar, as an artist with Z, whatever percentage was going to them, it was going out of my 50%. It's my responsibility to raise the money, to give it out of my share, and make sure the artist gets what he wants. It's basically, it's like I have parked Justin Bieber with Republic Records, which is owned by Universal.
Understood. Yeah.
So it's about underwriting the artist.
Yeah. So you are basically the business guy in the whole gamut of things, and the artist is doing the creative bit.
But at the same point of time, with Krishna today, in the last 3 years, we've invested more than a crore or something in the last 2 years, 3 years. And I'm not going to talk about the revenues we made or whatever is the thing. That's a different conversation altogether. But if initially we haven't got that support from a label where I know that Sony is going to bank on Krishna and pay 3 crores to me directly कि जाओ content बनाओ मेरे को दे दो. But अभी नहीं है मेरे पास. But फिर अंकित 50 इसलिए रहे क्योंकि अंकित अपना पैसा लगा रहा है बीच में. अंकित बोलता है कि भाई हम तो सामने वाले के पास तब जाएंगे जब तू खड़ा हो जाएगा. When you're established. When you are worth it for a big label, then we'll take you to the big label, and then let's get a bigger investment, bigger budget for your tracks and everything. And then I'll also make money in it. But till that time, we'll have to invest into it. I can't keep waiting on Sony Music to come in the next 3 years. I can't tell an artist कि यार अभी पैसे नहीं है, अभी वीडियो नहीं बनेगी, लॉकडाउन चल रहा है. You know, in this point of time,
I actually have a question for you.
Rafael, 1 second. Rafael, I'm gonna let you answer. Just give me a second. Ankit, my question is the same. You mean that all the bigger artists that have been established in the industry so far, in the Indian industry so far, have all become big because of labels?
For me?
No. I'm saying in general, whatever artists who have become big in India have...
It's the kind of artists we get the artists. For me, I've not been part of the industry where they've promoted the playback singing. I've never been part of, I've never managed them, guys. Never. But I've been a booking agent to an artist who's done playback. I've only managed, if you say managed an artist, I've always managed people who are more on the independent side, where they've always made their own videos. They've never relied on Bollywood. Never. So for them, and here the industry is different. Maybe for you, an ex-artist is successful from Bombay, but for me, it's more like it's a work for hire where with a good voice, okay, come here, sing the song, and that's it. And they might be making 50 lakhs on a show or 75 lakhs on a show. But then at the same point of time, I have had artists who made 1.5 CR only on with licensing a song. So I manage a different breed or a genre, you can say. I work more on the independent mainstream side, but I don't know कि बड़े लोगों जैसे, I don't know, like honestly speaking, as a public guy, if you ask me, Sonu Nigam was being found by Gulshan Kumar ji, as per my knowledge. मेरे को लगता है, जहां तक मैंने सुना है. अभी आप ये क्रेडिट टी सीरीज को नहीं दोगे तो मेरे को नहीं पता कि how does it differ with you. With me, I will give that credit because I'm myself in those kind of shoes, no, right now.
Right. Okay. Rafael, please, what's your question?
Yeah.
So Ankit, I think I love what you said over the past few minutes. But
thank you.
What does it take for an artist to make themselves visible and investable to you, to a manager like you? Because there are very few managers like you who will say, okay, I'll stand behind you, help you build this business around your talent, and then manage and produce, because you use the word produce. So very few managers who will say that, I'll get you ready so that we can go stand in front of a label by finding the funds myself or funding you myself. So what does it take for an artist to become visible or investable for you?
The first 5 demos. That's it.
All right.
And people think I don't listen to, I do a lot of A&R sessions with my boys in the night. Whether it's people say it, in my younger age, I loved partying around, and I loved having a session with my friends and my office colleagues and stuff. And we've always had an habit to play music which is not very known to people. So we've discovered few people, like I was listening to Sidhu Moosewala when people didn't even knew that his tracks were getting leaked. He didn't even release his one official song. Before he released So High, I was listening to his stuff. So it's always, I think the biggest thing is the song. The second thing is the way my chemistry with the artist works in the first few meetings. And my question to every artist we sign is, are you patient enough to let go 5 years of your career for me? I know you're coming to me with a faith that you'll be successful soon, or you'll have you have a deal in 3 years or 4 years. But at the same point of time, are you prepared that what if you don't have a deal for 5 years? Are you prepared? So, and that is the kind of conversation I get to know within like 10 seconds, the way the artist responds. There are artists where I've signed paperwork with them, and there are artists who have not signed paperwork with me because they thought it's okay. But eventually, 95% of people did sign paperwork with me. 100%. They did. But I've explained to you, the things which matter to us is mainly the music. And for me, the artist is a different thing. I only like people on artists in this way who can write their own stuff, compose their own stuff, and produce themselves. That's it. My vision is very different to a Mumbai Bollywood centric kind of production of an artist. Like I don't believe in artists who want to spend 7 lakhs on a song by getting a lyricist on board and a composer on board and a mixing mastering guy and this and that. A track will sound as good if you know how to produce it. And initially the artists need to learn that craft, that how can they build their own tracks initially, how to build them. And that's something an artist needs to do. I can do an A&R session by saying that, okay, this is good, this is not good, this is bad. I think we should add a rapper on it. I think we should get a female vocalist on this one. But I cannot explain you how to create a melody and how to create everything. You know, it's the first thing. And the music is the main thing why I'm signing someone.
So, that's reflective in your approach also when you said the publishing is for the artist and whatever royalties they get on that side is to them, because the artists that you're dealing with are, I mean, that is their pure creativity in that sense. They're coming with, okay, I know how this song is structured. I know this is a song.
So let's say like today Raftaar is a co-founder in Kalamkaar, right? Technically, if Kalamkaar owns a master and if Raftaar creates a track, it's a different thing. But no, when Kalamkaar takes and acquires a content of Raftaar, the master is owned by Kalamkaar since they're investing, but the publishing is with the Raftaar. It's got nothing to do with Ankit.
Got it, yeah.
So our way of working is very clean enough, and I want to promote more on the songwriting, songwriters, composers, and artists who do their own stuff. I am not that kind of a guy who can help playback people and the artists who are only the singers. That is a very big, damn big industry in India. But I don't think 10 years down the line that'll be big enough.
Guys, guys, if you want to, there are a lot of people on this session, and if you want to ask questions to Ankit and Rafael, there is a Q&A button. I see a couple of questions. I'm going to take them. You can please don't put it on the chat box. Put it on the Q&A. I'm going to ask those questions to both Rafael and Ankit. My question is now shifting to Rafael. Rafael, there are international artists that I see, like one of the biggest example is BTS. BTS going IPO, right? Do you want to give us some beams on what's happening globally with music investment?
I think it'll take me 3 hours to do that, Jesse. But
keep it concise. I want you to, you know, since I know that you read a lot, you know, about the international, and I know your stuff. I've attended your interviews. I've watched what you do. So if you can briefly tell me what's internationally happening and how India can be like come parallel to that. I mean, just
yeah.
Because I see, because I see Divine doing publishing deal with an international publishing. So, you know, those things are happening. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting time that we live in. And I think I love what Ankit said, and I completely agree with his last point that 10 years down the line, that whole, you know, those whole playback and this whole film centric, we need to lose our dependence on film for music. Music has to exist independently of the film industry. And that's only how we're going to be able to take this ceiling up, right? Internationally, you brought up BTS, so let's look at BTS. You have BTS, which is essentially a brand. And what's under that brand is a boy band, artists, right? Songs, they've created a business around that. They are ready to go to IPO. And here's Warner Media that's on the other side, ready to go to IPO after multiple acquisitions, structuring, things like that. They've stalled. Warner Media on one hand has their IPO. I don't know, you know, when they're going to have their market offering. But yes, in just, I would say, 5-7 years is ready. They're going to go to IPO. And they're calling for a valuation that is, I mean, it wasn't foreseeable. I don't think anyone thought, and even right now you're just thinking as an artist, can you put a value on my music? Which is what BTS is claiming their initial public offering value, or what they're looking to raise through an IP. And the answer is no, it's not. What they have done is they've looked at copyright, which is their music, as the asset. But they've looked at that music as a product to be to the market. Then they looked at the mode of delivery, and they've built an entire culture around that. And they've had immense support. So it's not BTS itself. They've had immense support. The soft power that K-pop has today, compared to what Bollywood had probably 10 years ago. I mean, you can't compare the two right now. And the virality that culture has, and it's due to multiple factors. State support, investors understanding. If you go to Korea and there's a lot more non-traditional financing that's available to acts like these in Korea, in the music ecosystem. Whereas in India, we still...
ये बहुत बड़ा टर्म था जो मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, बाउंसर चला गया. क्या था वो टर्म? बीच में कुछ तो बोला आपने.
Non-traditional financing.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, or non-conventional. So essentially, conventional, either debt you take from a
bank,
you take a loan, or equity, you have an investor, an investment fund. There are people who are willing to give you things like advance against royalties. Now that model is come in as well, but there are people who are willing to give you advances on your publishing side, are willing to say, okay, this is your music, this is your brand, and they'll break up these rights and say, okay, only for your image rights, so only for your digital rights, I'm going to give you so much of money. And if you look at other models, if you look at, for example, Hollywood, the amount of money that Hollywood spends on a year in acquiring just the rights to scripts or stories. So all these documentaries that you see on Netflix, so let's say People versus O.J. Simpson, you know, stories like that, which are real life stories, they'll just buy the rights to those stories and keep it. They don't even produce it. The amount of money that they pay to acquire those rights, which doesn't get produced, It's more than what we invest in a year in in films here. All right, so the same thing is happening in the K-pop ecosystem, the J-pop ecosystem with the Japanese pop, the C-pop, which is the Chinese pop ecosystem, and Chinese pop is also exploding, but they use a very calculated approach. It's like, you know how there are two ways to invest in the stock market. One is you watch it every day and you look and you do analysis yourself. The other is you try and find some software online and you put your money in that software. You put your money in a mutual fund and hope you'll study it and hopefully you'll get your return. What China is doing with C-pop is essentially that they're playing those numbers. They're looking at other industries and saying, okay, this combination of this songwriter with this user for this market, this type of song, this is what the song is about. Being that calculative with how an album goes out.
So you mean there is some kind of an algorithm and data analysis that is happening behind it?
You know, when people say there's no formula for a hit, they're building that formula for a hit. And they're using it album after album, artist after artist. What's happening is two things. You have a lot of hits. We also have music that sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
So from one song to the other on the album, you can't really tell. One artist to the other artist, or one album to the other album, you can't really tell. It's sounding the same. And you see the group of writers, they're all coming from Scandinavia for these genres also. So Sweden, Finland, Norway, all the writers
to write BTS songs.
All these pop songs, essentially. So these writers are known for pop, whichever genre or subgenre of pop it is in the world. The best writers are coming from this region. And one thing I would recommend is there is a service called Raftaar. They analyze reports and they look at, they publish everything from how many women won Grammys to date, things like that. And they've gone into this data of who are the songwriters of the hit songs. And Ankit said something interesting also, which I think is alluding to, in 5 years, you can buy your publishing rights back if you really value them. When you make enough money and you can buy them. That's the best example of that Michael Jackson model. The Sony ATV model was that. At the end of the day, Sony ATV owned the rights to the Beatles catalog, and the Beatles didn't have them because he beat them on price and bought those rights, right? And that's the biggest publishing business in the world today. When you speak of market entrants like Reservoir, I don't know if I answered the first part of your question completely, Jesse.
You go ahead. Yeah, I want to hear about Reservoir. Yeah, go ahead. They're the publishers.
So about deals like this, publishers that are coming into India, they're looking at this market as a big opportunity, two ways. For back catalog, in terms of acquisition, there are people who are sitting on publishing rights and don't know what to do with them. They don't know what publishing is. They know that they're just sitting on the right. There are a few people who spoiled the market, and I think Ankit will agree with me here, is that they've gone out and now all these smaller labels expect minimum guarantees for anything. They don't even know what rights they're giving. They're just like, up for rights, this we expect, you pay this, you take it. They don't even care what is written.
Bro, they don't care about, okay, if for me, I want to quote myself. One biggest thing is the key to success to a manager or a young producer or anything is treat a bigger label or a producer or an investor as your key investor. He doesn't make money back in that span of time. Your business is not going to flourish. You can make it happen once, twice. But our job intentionally should be that our investors or labels or the aggregator partners or publishers as well, they should find a way out to recover their investments. If they don't make money, this ecosystem is only getting spoiled right now. It's not getting better because I'm happy for a Divine to get a Reservoir deal. But now what's happening is just because he got a deal, now a lot of rappers are expecting a deal on that. And they are expecting the same sort of revenues on it. But they need to get it that he's got one of the best hits in the last 2 years under his belt, where he retains publishing as well. Like he owns it. So he deserves to get that money because he never got that kind of major advances as well in the first place because he wanted to keep the publishing. So it's like, it's a different format for everyone. And I tell my artists to completely live a different lifestyle. I am a kind of a guy that I want to retain. I want to sell the product today at the best cost possible. I don't care about publishing. I don't care about as a manager. But when it comes to Kalamkar, managing our own label, then we think we have to buy the content where we give the publishing to an artist. We tell them, we explain it to them. This is how. But just in case if somebody doesn't want to keep his publishing and then he wants some extra 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs for extra on that project, I am happy to do it on Kalamkar. That's fine.
Ankit,
but at the same,
Ankit, I want to. We don't have much time. We have 10 minutes left. I want to understand as, I see you as a facilitator and also as an investor. I see you that way, right?
Okay.
Now you tell me what goes in your mind, what goes in the mind of the investor once he has invested in the artist.
No, main thing is I've never foreseen making revenues in the first 3 years, 4 years. My plan has always been, I've always told when as soon as I sign the artist, I know that it's a 5-year plan. I'll start making money in the 5th year. Until that time, whatever revenues come in or it doesn't come in, then we pay retainers to our artists. We make sure they don't go desperate and start writing for free for people. They don't start selling songs as ghost producers to someone just because they're short of some 50,000 bucks or 1 lakh, just not even to being able to run their house. So we make sure that we secure their kitchen first. And we explain it to them that every song, you don't know which song is going to be the best song for you next year. So don't go into a zone where you start selling this. If you got us on board, then believe in us. Then don't go and sell a track to a composer and say कि यार मेरे को गवा लेंगे ना पिक्चर में क्या दिक्कत है मेरा गाना आ जाएगा भी faith रखो अगर और खुद का song writer है then have that faith, open your YouTube channel, start doing lyrical videos, start doing some sort of, you'll get to know. The day you have 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, the day you have 50,000 listeners on Spotify, at least you know, okay, now I can go and tell someone that, okay, I need an investment to amplify this. I built this on my own, but मेरे को अब इसके ऊपर इसको next level कैसे लेके जाना? And I'm sure, man, like there are people who are working like me and they've done things in the past. But yes, what happens sometimes is the artists have not been loyal to them enough, And I've been lucky on that side. My artists have been very loyal to me in that way. Whenever the deals have been struck, they've stood by me. They've been offered silly money. Like Raf has been offered silly money by a lot of big labels, a lot of big people saying that if you give an X percentage to Ankit, like leave it. Give us 10% less, we'll give you 2 crores extra. ये वो सब चलता है industry में, but नहीं किया वो. And that is what a manager or a partner should earn in their career. And I think the artists also need to be loyal to that.
Ankit, quickly, I want to ask you, what's your deal with Sony and Kalamkar? How did that happen?
So I think a lot of friends know Anand Srivastav is the guy who was basically
he's not there in
at
Sony
that
anymore.
point, not in Sony anymore, but now he's in White Dance right now. From Sony to Radio Mirchi Live, and then from Mirchi Live he went to White Dance. So he's been a good friend, and we met a couple of times. And we were working on an Akasa song basically, and they always. So I was meeting Rohan sir as well around that time, and they wanted. We were working on this song, and we were having discussions, and I really liked the ecosystem of Sony. Like I was liking the way they put an effort behind a song or a single of their own artist, and we were in talks, and we were just going back and forth on a lot of things, and then we came up with this Kalamkar thing, and it was growing, and they were also paying attention on it. And then initially we started talking about a single or something, and but they said that, Ankit, do you look forward for an investment or let's say signing these three kids? So I tell sir ki, I would love to break my more on pop talent, which is more on the pop side with you. As per my rappers and hip hop guys, whether it's Krishna, Karma, and Brishav and Raf, Raf is with them as well, with Sony. He's a Sony music recording artist for now. But so we made it happen. I think they've signed these four guys. They will be controlling all the releases for the next 2 years for now. And we are with them exclusively right now. I can't quote on the numbers and stuff. They are big.
So they kind of come in and they invest on distribution and marketing the whole
everything. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the percentage? Can you tell me the percentage? What's the percentage that they get from this?
I don't think if I'm allowed to talk about this.
Okay.
I'll message you later on.
Okay. But this was really key insights. Rafael, we have 5 minutes more. You want to add something which will be really important for the artist side. What do you want to add?
I think the only thing I should do is sum up what we've discussed. So if you're an artist, you're looking to get investment into yourself, whether it is someone's time, effort, or money. Essentially, you need to find people who trust in you, believe in you for that first round, so that you can build 5 demos, or at least maybe not 5 demos, but 2 good quality demos, so that you can go to someone like Ankit or a manager who will essentially look at you and look at what you've created, and then decide whether a business can be built around you, right? Because for the long haul, for those 5 years, you're going to have people, a manager, you're going to have a lawyer, a business manager, you're going to have agents. And that's how eventually you're going to succeed in each area of this business, right? So for that first phase, you need someone who really believes in you, whether that's your friends, your family, people from your locality, or you have around Ganpati, you go around your locality and you try and collect funds to fund your music career. Everyone who comes to your house puts a separate money into your pot, however you'd like to do it. But that's how you're going to be able to fund that stage. Then you're either going to go to a manager, producer like Ankit, who will help you sustain or show you the way to sustain for the next few months. I'm not saying Ankit. I'm not. But that's what you need to look at. And I think along this way, you need to keep in constant touch when you refer to YouTube and when you refer to Spotify. Ultimately, it is the most important thing is getting those fans to trust and invest in you. And money aside, it's their time that you're vying for. Right? So whether they are paying $10 on Spotify or the 75 paise on YouTube per view, it is the time that they're giving you more than anything else. And if you're going to someone, you're going to guarantee that these views, whatever you put out there, people are going to spend time on. And that time will be accompanied by money later maybe. And then so all these news of crowd, all these Patreons, GoFundMe, and they're new opportunities for you to get their initial fund together. And there have been artists who have funded music videos through these platforms. During this pandemic also, they've tried to create funds for themselves by just doing a Zoom room of 20 people. People who, I think 20 of your biggest fans will give you 80% of the money that you need. It's kind of like what the record label and music 20% of your fans of yours will help you sustain everything else.
Thank you so much, Rafael. I mean, actually, you just summed it up, and for me, so I don't have to sum it up anymore. Ankit ji, closing remarks and what else do you want to add? आपने सब कुछ बोल दिया है, and I can't thank you enough.
नहीं, बस इतना रिक्वेस्ट करो, जो सुन रहे हैं उनको बोलो अपना अपना अंकित ढूंढो.
अपना अपना अंकित ढूंढो. Wow, that was a good one. Oh wow.
And
So
believe in yourself. That's the first thing, and it's an artist first industry. And be prepared. If you want to become a billionaire, then be ready to split money with billionaires. Otherwise, you don't become a billionaire. It's not easy.
okay.
If you want to become someone big, you have to make sure you give a pie of your business to people. You can't see कि I'll keep it all. वो बहुत मुश्किल है in this era.
So guys, I'm going to quickly, देखो आप लोगों ने ना all the attendees, यार आप लोगों ने questions एक तो relevant questions पूछे नहीं हैं. So आपके कुछ questions मैंने बहुत सारे, तो आप मेरा जैसी जे करके मेरा YouTube चैनल है, उसमें मैं इस इकोसिस्टम में, मैंने क्या बोला था सबसे पहले शुरू करने के पहले मैंने बोला था I help music enthusiasts understand the music industry from the eyes of the insiders. Today's topic was specifically for investment. इसलिए अंकित और रफाल हैं यहाँ पे, हम लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करें. आप बाकी सारा क्वेश्चंस अगर पूछोगे तो उसके जवाब मैं आपको क्विकली अभी देने वाला हूँ. तो कोई हाशम खान आप पूछ रहे हैं कि मैंने डीएनएच को मेल किया है बट मुझे कोई रिवर्ट नहीं आ रहा. तो बॉस, हाउ मेनी टाइम्स हैव यू रिवर्टेड? गिव मी दैट नंबर. Put that number. Keep on doing your tracks. Keep on sending them. उनको नहीं पसंद आ रहा होगा, पर आपका काम है कि आपको हिम्मत नहीं हारनी है, आपको गाने बनाने हैं, आपको उनको अच्छे अच्छे गाने बना के भेजने. जब उनको लगेगा कि भाई अब ये ट्रैक सही है, वो आपको रिवर्ट जरूर करेंगे. बॉस, प्लीज गो एंड सी सम वीडियोस ऑन यूट्यूब. लोग यहाँ पे 50 बार जाके फॉलो अप करने के बाद उनको एक बार काम मिलता है. तो इतना आसान नहीं है. जो आज मैं अंकित से बात कर रहा हूँ, अंकित ने सोनी के साथ डील करने के लिए, रिकॉर्ड लेबल के साथ डील करने के लिए बहुत काम किया है. वो इतने सालों से काम कर रहे हैं. तो इट्स नॉट इजी कि आपने भेज दिया वहां से रिवर्ट आ गया. सो प्लीज डोंट एक्सपेक्ट दैट फ्रॉम एनीबॉडी. Will Ankit judge the demos on the basis of where they are recorded? For example, if the demos are recorded at home, guys, this is very simple question. If he likes the song, he's definitely going to revert it. If he likes a lyrical part, he's definitely going to revert it. It can be recorded in a studio or it can be recorded at home. I can answer on his behalf. So if you guys don't know, I'm also a booking agent. I'm an artist manager. I've worked in the media and entertainment space for the last 20 years. I've seen Rafael and Ankit's progress. I know how hardcore and professional guys they are. So please do that. Best time to, yeah, faltu questions. Best time to send demos any time of the day. Ankit, what time do you wake up, man?
नहीं, वो इनके हिसाब से तो रात को 12 बजे भी डीएम करते हैं इंस्टाग्राम में.
बहुत टाइम.
अभी इनको तो लगता है कि अंकित के पास और कोई काम ही नहीं है भाई. बट वो इनकी गलती नहीं है, सही है, ठीक है. बट मैं इनको एक मैसेज, आई वांट टू टेल एवरीवन दैट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, नॉट यू गाइस नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, कि पहली चीज है हमारे पास 100 रुपए है. 100 में से हम वो ऑलरेडी स्प्लिट कर चुके हैं अपने नए आर्टिस्ट पे. फिलहाल हमारी बैंडविड्थ ही नहीं है. तो आप मेरे को गाना भेजेंगे भी, आप कलमकार के डेमोज एट कलमकार म्यूजिक पे डेमोज भेजो. देयर इज अ A&R टीम, विवेक है, सुख है, वो लोग सुनेंगे. अगर उनको सही लगता है फिर वो मेरे को भेजते हैं, एंड देन आई फाइनलाइज दैट व्हाट आर द चेंजेस वी कैन.
अंकित,
बट I'll have to keep a filter on before the content comes to me. That's why I have A&R guys, because otherwise I wouldn't have had partners.
अंकित एक बार ईमेल आईडी बताएं. डेमो
कलमकार, डेमोज एट कलमकार म्यूजिक,
DEMOS डेमोज एट कलमकार
कलमकार म्यूजिक, KALAMKAR
कलमकार म्यूजिक
yeah music.com.
Okay, guys, in the chat. Okay, quickly, what else? Kinjal Bhattacharya is saying, Khanna ji, when do you see independent music makers getting close to Bollywood playback singers? Because most of the Bollywood album is a compilation of independent music. Ankit, you want to take Kinjal's question?
That is what I mean right now.
Yeah, that is what you mean. Okay.
That is, and the producers themselves don't want a full album from one composer anymore.
Then
because they know they're not even doing.
Sorry. Yeah, answer it. Because
they themselves know that it's they're not able to deliver 3 songs out of 5 hits. That's why they come to independent people who just make them one song और वो एक hit बना के देते.
Awesome. Okay, then as a beginner artist manager, what is the right time to actually sign 2 or 3 year 2 or 3 year management and development contract on paper with artist. When working with them since day one, around 2+ years to now, we have, ये बहुत बड़ा question है, sorry.
अगर आपको आप पे भरोसा है तो आप 2 साल के लिए साइन क्यों करोगे? अगर आपको अपने में ट्रस्ट है 10 साल का पेपर वर्क साइन करो. Otherwise it doesn't make sense. If you have faith that okay you can manage someone, then sign a 10-year paperwork. Obviously you have an exit clause, the other person has an exit clause, but at the same point of time your intention should be that you'll be sticking around the other guy for 10 years. If the day one I tell you that okay I'm only going to have this relationship for 2 years क्योंकि 2 साल बाद मेरे को तेरे से बड़ा आर्टिस्ट मिल जाएगा, फिर मैं उसके साथ चला जाऊंगा, ये क्या बात है? नहीं, मैनेजर की सोच गलत है.
Okay.
Manager should always keep an effort to sign the artist for a longer period so that he can give better results in that span of time.
Been working with them, the same question. Zain says, been working with them since day one. He's an artist manager, Ankit. He says, been working with them since day one, around 2+ years now, together now. We have started signing 7-figure record deals now. Been working on a verbal agreement since years and have a very long personal relation. But since the revenue has built up to the pretty decent number, wanna be secured. हाँ, तो वही आपने बोला कि long term. Rafael, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think what stops the artist from walking away
Rafael को phone कर भाई, number ले और contract कर पहले.
Rafael, your number. Tell me your number, Rafael.
You have my number already.
No, I can put it in the chat. Go ahead.
No, give his email ID, man.
Okay, Rafael, email ID.
Yeah. It's Rafael.in, RAFAEL@TINNUTS.in.
Okay.
But I think, you seriously need to get your agreement done. There's nothing that stops your artist from walking away right now with those deals.
Unless and until you really are some sort of a mafia or something.
True.
Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Ankit, Rafael, maza aa gaya.
Sir, thank you. Rafael sir, thank you. Jesse sir, thank you.
Thank you nice everyone for being a part of this. And we are signing off. And before we sign off, I'll quickly take a picture. And so guys, give me a smile. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining me. Next session is again a very interesting session. I'm going to spill the beans. Next session, I'm going to talk about something which is picking space in Indian music industry, which is music supervision. I'm sure you guys heard about music supervision. We have a lot of international platforms coming to India, OTT platforms. Their deals are very different. Music supervisors know exactly how the deal should be. I'm getting 2 very special guys. One is an international guy and one is an Indian guy to talk about music supervision, how it functions, how they send their demos to all these big OTT players. If you are interested, you have to sign up next Saturday at 4 p.m. I'm taking sign off. Bye.
Hey guys. Bye.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ankit.